Inevitably, when you evaluate different planes, you need to make some trade-offs. The four most important areas to evaluate are engine, airframe, avionics, and paint and interior. On a light aircraft, an engine overhaul can cost almost half of the value of the aircraft. That makes engine condition, history, and hours very important. First, you should research the cost of a complete engine overhaul at a couple of shops for the plane that you're interested in. However, most aircraft with run-out or high-time engines are not discounted enough to cover the cost of the overhaul. If they were, the owner would probably have had the overhaul done and sold the plane easier with a new engine. Some engines are advertised with recent top overhauls. A top overhaul is simply an engine that has had recent work on its cylinders. Top overhauls should not increase the value of the airplane, since they don't increase the time remaining before the engine needs a complete overhaul. Not only is the time since overhaul important, but where the overhaul was done can also play a role in the value of the aircraft. A recent engine overhaul at a reputable engine shop can be much more attractive than a field overhaul by an unknown mechanic. In some cases, a recently overhauled engine may still be covered by a warranty if the overhaul was done by a reputable company. The best deals are found on airplanes with mid to low time engines. In these cases, you won't be paying a premium for a brand new engine, but you should be getting an engine with a lot of time left in it. Evaluating the condition of the airframe requires an expert in the aircraft model. Every aircraft model has different typical airframe problems to inspect for. Fabric aircraft require extensive covering and tubing inspections. Bonded aircraft require inspections for delamination, and all aircraft must be inspected for corrosion, wear, and fatigue. Inspecting for corrosion is especially important. Aircraft are susceptible to many different types of corrosion, and only an expert can identify and evaluate corrosion damage. Also, each aircraft model has certain areas where corrosion is more likely, and therefore they need to be inspected accordingly. An example of this is the Beechcraft Bonanza. The elevator skin on a Bonanza is made of magnesium. Magnesium is very susceptible to corrosion, and repairing or replacing these parts can cost thousands of dollars. So it's very important to catch problems such as this before you buy the airplane. Aircraft corrosion can be caused by a number of factors, including age, exposure to the elements, and lack of preventative maintenance. Knowing the condition and corrosion history of the aircraft is very important, since this will help you develop a plan to protect the airframe in the future as well. Corrosion management should be a part of every aircraft's preventative maintenance program. Even if the aircraft you purchase hasn't been treated before, proven anti-corrosion products such as ACF 50 can be used to both prevent and halt the corrosion process. Aircraft located in coastal regions are especially susceptible to corrosion. If you live in a coastal region, or you're evaluating an aircraft that's been stored in one, you must inspect the aircraft very carefully. Salt is a key ingredient in corrosion, and if the aircraft has been stored in a coastal location, some amount of salt in the airframe will probably always be present. So even if the aircraft is free of corrosion now, you'll need to protect the aircraft from future damage. Next to the engine, avionics are the second most expensive part of the airplane. Depending on how the aircraft is equipped, the avionics can run from a few thousand to tens of thousands of dollars. Start by looking at the type of flying that you want to do. If you only fly VFR, then you'll need good radios, but you won't need extensive navigational equipment. In fact, you can often get by with a single combination nav-com radio. And you can always add a handheld GPS to supplement your navigational equipment. However, if you fly IFR, the condition and capability of your avionics is very important. First of all, For IFR flight, the aircraft must have an IFR certification within the past 2 years. This consists of a test of the aircraft's static and altimeter system, as well as a transponder and altitude encoder check. Second, you'll only be able to fly IFR approaches that the aircraft is equipped for. So you should start by checking the approaches that you'll need to fly into most often, to see what equipment you'll need to have in the aircraft. Since you'll be relying on this equipment for IFR flight, it's very important that the equipment is working properly and reliable. As we discussed with the engine overhaul, it's usually a lot cheaper to buy an aircraft that already has the equipment you'll need. Buying and installing new avionics is very expensive and will only increase the value of the aircraft a fraction of what you spend. So do yourself a favor and let someone else make the investment for you. Many aircraft buyers gravitate towards planes with new paint and modern interiors, but this should really be your last priority when evaluating an aircraft. While aircraft paint and interior refurbishing is very expensive, no one ever found themselves over their head just because the paint began to fade. It's not as simple for the rest of the plane. If your engine or avionics require major, unexpected repairs, it can be extremely expensive. So be prepared to overlook a few blemishes in favor of an aircraft with a solid engine and good avionics.